Ladies and gentlemen, this is Crom.
And this is Jono.
Welcome to the Mindset channel, and we will continue our 14-day mindset reset. Today, we are on day 10. The day 10 is about pattern interruption. I think this is one of my favorite NLP techniques, hey? And
Absolutely.
the objective of pattern interruption is to identify and interrupt unhelpful patterns to regain control over thoughts and behaviors that keep you feeling stuck. So, having said that, interruptions in old routines allow fresh possibilities to enter. Jano, what do you think of that?
Exactly right. So it's interesting when you're talking about human behavior and human thought.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's typically organized and structured, and that's why pattern interruption is so important. And what tends to happen if you can interrupt that pattern, and this is a very solid bit of NLP as well. If you can interrupt that pattern of thought, it will typically reorganize itself as something more productive for you.
Mm,
And there's a number of different ways to go about it. So step one here is really simple. Just identify the unhelpful pattern. Okay.
yeah.
Notice the recurring behaviors, whether they're thoughts, poor emotional responses, poor internal dialogue, negative self-talk, all that sort of thing. Notice what it is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do they do that?
It's about a bit of self-awareness as much as anything else. Just
Mm,
picking yourself up. You know, when you find yourself, we all have we all kind of predict how conversations are going to go as an example.
yeah, yeah,
Someone that you're dreading a conversation with walks into the office.
yeah.
So you all of a sudden get on the back foot or get too far on the front foot in the conversation without actually listening. It's something that a lot of people do. So it's about being aware of just your negative behaviors, whether it's negative self-talk, whether it's a poor response to certain situations. Just pick up on yourself. It's self-awareness, picking up on yourself when you're doing it a lot.
Yeah. I actually spoke to a couple of psychologists and they were really being negative, right? And I know they're psychologists. So I brought it up and going, you know what, for a psychologist, you're very unconscious. And they lost their shit, right? They lost their shit, right? And then one of the psychologists said, don't you know how difficult it is to be self-aware? And I went, yes, it is difficult. And then she continued saying, and it requires a lot of bandwidth. And in my case, it's very difficult. And then I said, let me interrupt your limiting belief there. By saying and giving excuses to this, that you're not self-aware, you're actually adding more energy into it. Um, would you ever say that to your client? Right?
No.
Exactly, right? Exactly, right? So why are you justifying this? That's what I asked her. And at that point of the conversation, she walked away. She walked off and said, pretty much gave me a finger with a look. Right?
Gee, I'm shocked.
And then when she calmed down a bit, she came back to the conversation. And this is happening in the playground, by the way. Whilst she was my neighbor, right? And then she came back and goes, all right, I should preach what I teach.
There you go.
Yeah. And I went, yeah, that is it. Because, and I said, the only reason I said that is because I thought you are aware of that, right? And being aware, right, is actually
Mm.
very challenging, especially in a society like ours that is full of distractions, right? And being aware of that negative thought, that being stuck idea, being aware it's happening, and also, even if you're aware of it, resisting the urge of letting it happen, right?
Mm.
And interrupting it. That's a challenge. John, are there any ways where we can make it easier?
There's nothing easy about sort of generating good self-awareness, but it's with these negative kind of patterns that you want to interrupt, it can be as simple as I always talk about journaling. It can be as simple as journaling these things down. When you pick yourself up doing it, journal it down. Then you
Yeah.
don't have to keep it in mind. You can move on, then get back to it a week later, and you can see how many times you did something. It can
Mm.
be as simple as that. So,
I when I s- what when I was going through a lot of pattern interruption to weed out the bad stuff out of my habits, right? I I had a list, right? Like you said,
mm,
right? And I spent one pattern a day
mm,
for the whole your where your focus is, what that's where your energy goes, right? So
right.
I actually used my energy to identify. I ignored everything else, of course, right? But I spent a lot of energy to find out about these patterns. When they came across, start again. And when they came across, and I was about to do it, I stopped. One of the bad patterns that I do is saying when I'm speaking. A lot
I do
of
it with okay.
Um, yeah, so I was full of that until I recorded myself and I saw myself that it was distracting my audience when I was doing presentations and it removed credibility to the substance of my words.
Yeah.
Then I saw a Jordan Peterson video on how to speak and be articulate. And he gave a metaphor. He goes, the way you think and the way you speak needs to align. I'm just summarizing it now. And that is, you imagine you're going across some murky waters, right? And you don't know what you're going to say. So in regards to the murky waters, you don't know where the rock or your foothold would be,
Mm,
right? So you step, you feel it, and then you feel the next one, and then whoop, there's nothing in there. You feel the next one. But having said that, you're actually stepping, you're not sliding your feet.
mm.
And the way he articulated, oh, here you go, Jordan Peterson articulated this is the same thing as saying, so when you are not going to say something, don't say anything. Because
Yeah.
that's the problem with right? And
Yeah.
similarly with with patterns, that's the case where we're on a loop. Well, a pattern is a loop,
Yeah.
really,
Essentially, yeah.
right? It's a pattern and it's a loop. And rather than let the engine run and let it loop, stop it until you go to the next step. Yeah.
That's exactly right. We all do it. We all develop these little patterns of behavior, patterns of internal thought. And the important thing is here, like I say, identifying them being the first step here. If you want to interrupt them, you got to know what you're going to interrupt.
Yeah, exactly.
From look, there's a couple other things we can do here. You can introduce a physical pattern break. Okay.
Physical patterning
Introduce a
interrupt.
physical
Okay.
pattern break, and that you catch yourself in a negative thought loop, something like that.
Yeah.
Simply get up and move around. Okay. Get
Mm.
up and move around. One of the things, I do a lot of work with anchoring with people. I do a lot of work with getting people to do a physical movement. Anyone that can't see the video right now won't be able to see this, but I'll tell you what I'm doing. Just placing your thumb just on the inside of your middle finger on the second knuckle down. Okay.
Mm.
All right. And that exists as an anchor. And I typically run people through a bit of a process that attaches this anchor to a very positive, very calm state. But essentially, initially, this anchor simply means pause.
Mm.
Okay. It's very simply a pattern interrupter. Okay. And your
Nice.
brain very quickly picks up that when you do this particular action, putting your thumb against your finger there,
Yeah.
it means pause. The same thing too, if you're at your desk, you're not doing too well, or you're feeling uncreative, get up. Just stand up, walk around the room a couple of times, then come and sit down. You're just interrupting the pattern. Really important thing to do.
It
Um,
reminds me of when you need to, when your computer is starting to just go in loops and not function well. It's time
oh, that's
to.
a very apt thing for my situation today. So if anyone listening, I've had a lot of computer trouble this week.
Yeah, the classical on and off,
Yeah,
interrupt it, just turn it off, turn it on again.
exactly right. Exactly right. So the other thing you can do there, point number three here, would just be switching up your surroundings. Okay.
Switching up your
We all
surroundings.
develop, if you're having a bit of trouble and you're sitting in a, if you're having a bit of trouble and you've got a few things, a few patterns that you need to break, or just some negative talk, that kind of thing, you tend to start to take cues from your environment around you as well. When you're sitting
Yes.
there and you're having some negative thought, you then look at this particular pot plant across from you or whatever it is, it tends to tie in with what you're thinking as well. So these things tend to anchor you to your negative state of mind. So importantly, just get up and change your environment sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay, really simple, really simple. If that means you've got to be one of those people on a laptop showing off down at Starbucks for a while, getting some work done, that's absolutely okay too. Um, but it's just get changing your environment occasionally
Mm,
can help break a pattern if you're feeling a little bit stuck.
yes. Totally agree.
Okay.
And on a macro level, when you're stuck, go for a holiday
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
and then come back refreshed.
Exactly right. Exactly right. We all need these breaks. People do actually work way too hard. And there's a pervasive attitude of working hard, not smart.
Mm.
Uh, Me, I'll work smart any day.
I need both.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've done a lot of both in the past as well. So
Yeah, yeah.
these days I prefer to work smart if I can. So
Yes. Yeah.
the other thing you can do here, point four here, is just taking a mindful pause. And a really, really simple thing to
Mm.
do here. Just
That's
take
good.
a proper mindful pause. Okay.
Yes.
And this is to do back to NLP a little bit here. This is to do with people's eye positions. When your eyes are pointing down,
Mm.
if you look at someone stressed or sad, where are they looking?
Down.
They're
Yeah.
looking down, okay? When you're working, we're all typically looking down, okay?
Mm.
So you can get stuck in a bit of an emotional space there. What's a really great idea, and this is so super simple, is just take a mindful pause. And what that mindful pause involves is just genuinely pausing for a moment, dropping what you're doing, sitting up, raise your chin a little bit higher, and take 3 breaths in and out, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Great pattern interrupter, gets you out of that stuck emotional space. You tend to be stuck down here, creative up here.
Mm. Very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And lastly, celebrate the interruptions. You hear me talking about celebrating any
I've
success,
never
any
heard of
milestone.
celebrate interruptions before. This is
Celebrate the
new.
interruption as well. Why
Uh-huh.
wouldn't you? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you? You're stuck on a negative
Mm.
behavior. Celebrate the interruption as well. I just interrupted that. I'm pretty happy with them. I'm in a better headspace now.
Yeah.
Celebrate the pattern interruption. Take a moment and acknowledge your awareness of it.
Yeah.
Acknowledge the fact that you stopped it in its tracks.
Nice. Okay. That's similar to if one, for example, swears a lot and um it's a terrible pattern that they go through, right? That's I believe language is reflective of the mind.
Mm.
So when people swear a lot, nothing wrong with swearing, but if every second or third word that comes out of your mouth is F and S and whatever, but I'm not gonna, by the way, I'm not gonna say it because I don't want us to get banned from YouTube. And you caught yourself before you swear or you curse, and you caught yourself, you go, hey, not bad. And what happened as well is you start thinking of another word for it, right? And before you know it, it's actually almost gone as a pattern.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, the next one is day 11, focusing on what you can control. Um, the the objective here is I'm reading my notes here, guys, in case you're wondering why I'm looking at my left, is the objective here is build resilience by identifying what you can control and letting go of what you can't. The mindset tip here is when you can focus on controlling factors, you gain the power to shape your life. Energy directed at the right things leads to fulfillment. That's almost poetic.
It does, doesn't it? It does.
Yeah.
And this is a huge one for me. Anyone who might be watching this who's worked with me um, will know that I am always talking about focusing on what you can control, let go of trying to control what you can't, because you're just going to get frustrated, okay? Um, so first point here, and this brings me to a book I read a little while ago too, actually. So firstly, just list down in any situation that's problematic for you,
Yeah.
okay? Or any situation, even if it's not problematic, get into the habit, list down what do you have control over in this
Mm,
situation? What can you actually control in this situation? It reminds me of this great story I read a little while ago. It was the book, I think it was No Easy Day, or perhaps the one beforehand. It was written by one of the SEAL team guys
mm,
who hunted down bin Laden. And it goes through his early days of becoming a SEAL.
mm.
And he's this pretty tough, really resourceful guy, but he'd never done any, he'd never jumped out of a plane, he'd never done rock climbing.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, they pick the guys they think they can train up for this stuff. So anyway, him and his SEAL team were in the hills outside of Hollywood, California. And he says they had this sheer cliff that it was their first time climbing, and they
Mm-hmm.
just kind of threw him in the deep end. So you guys get up that. And they had one of the world's, I forget the guy's name, but one of the world's top climbers there
Yeah.
actually training them. And he describes this
Wow.
guy as literally looking like a mountain goat. He had a big goatee beard. And and when these guys are like learning to these guys, they essentially give them, as you learn to climb, you've got your ropes, your harnesses, and you have to bang these pieces of metal into the rock and fix
Mm,
yourself as you go. Bang them into cracks as you go.
yeah.
Okay. Now, all these guys are learning how to climb, and he describes this Billy Goat guy, this world-class climber, doesn't even have a rope, and he's just going from one guy to another. He's just going across this rock face. You reckon it was the most amazing thing he'd ever seen. But so anyway, long story short, this guy's his first time climbing, and he realized he'd been putting his fixes too close together,
Mm.
and he ran out.
Oh
He was
dear.
still 25 meters short of the top.
Mm.
And he was just thinking, what do I do? Like he was just sitting there looking around, looking at the guy below him, looking at the guy above him. And the Billy Goat guy came sideways running over on the cliff and just said to him, what are you looking at those guys for? They can't help you. He
Mm.
said, okay, what do I do? He said, well, what do you control in this situation? What can you control? He goes, you look down, you're going to get scared. You look up, you realize how far you got to go. What can you
Mm.
control right now? And what he said to him, he goes, all you can control right now is the 3 foot circle around you. That's it.
Wow.
That's it. That's all you've got to control. He says, so you've got to take this 3 foot circle, start climbing back down again. When these metal fixes get within the 3 foot circle, pick them up, and then you're going to have to climb back up within your 3 foot circle and space them further apart. But I thought it was a great little metaphor of in that situation, all this guy could control was his 3 foot circle around him. So that's
Nice.
what he had to focus on.
Yes. I
Yeah,
think
looking
that's
at all
all
his
that
mates
that's
wasn't going to
almost
help.
like it's very similar to people going and freaking out about, for example, elections here, or there's something wrong with in another country, or in another state, right? Or even their neighborhood. And 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 they're quick to judgment, and they're quick to worry, and they're quick to stress.
Yeah.
And when I hear that, by the way, I used to do that a lot. By the way, I used to do that a lot
Mm.
until somebody explained it to me that, oh, you can control. It's very similar to this, to what you said, is my circle. I can't change the world, but I can change my family, for example. I can change my mind, and I can speak to my daughter. I can actually pay for my food, but I can't solve world hunger, right? And the more influential you get, the bigger that circle becomes.
Yeah. Yeah. It was interesting, actually. I was in a lecture a while ago with a number of other psychotherapists, and this guy, it was one of these aha moments. This one guy started by saying, "You cannot change the world. You're not here to fix the world." Like, oh, that's right.
Yeah,
When
that's
you
right.
are a therapist as well, you get these grandiose ideas of, oh, we can change the world here. All I can deal with is the person sitting in front of me. That's
Yeah,
it. Or anyone listening to us today.
yeah. It's almost similar to back in 2000, I was in sales, right? And I was not doing well with my numbers for the month, right? I was selling mobile phones. Yes, that was one of my first jobs. And I was thinking, man, if I can, oh, and my sales were not only affected by my mood and my mindset at the time, but also by the amount of people entering the store.
Mm,
So if there's hardly anyone that will enter the store, I will become desperate, and I will really push hard with my sales. And most likely now, I will lose the sale because I reek of desperation, right?
yeah.
And one of the reasons I got into marketing is because what if I can sell to not one at a time, but one to many, right? And that's how I got into marketing.
Mm,
The second part of this rant, or it's not a rant, but this story, is I realized that I'm also limited. My marketing is limited by my ad spend, my ad
mm,
budget, right? I not only I've discovered I can't sell when I'm limited, but I also can't sell when my budget is limited, right?
mm.
And that's how I discover the limits, the circle limit of what I
Right,
can
right,
do, right? Whether it's one on one, like you said, and also one to many. There is a limit of your reach. And and that's what you can affect, and that's what you can actually control.
right.
Yeah. Well, that's what
Exactly
I can
right.
control
So,
anyway. So unless
all
you're
right.
Coca-Cola,
What was that?
unless you're Coca-Cola or Asics the shoes, which can spend 10K a day.
Good for them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. All right. So listen, step two here is after you've written down what you can control, let go of everything else.
Yeah.
Simply let go of everything else. Make a conscious decision to let go of what's not in your control in this particular instance. And as we've discussed before, we react to things faster unconsciously. Okay.
Mm.
Our unconscious mind reacts faster than our conscious mind. Our unconscious responses are faster. So, if you can make conscious decisions and focus consciously on letting go of what you can't control, eventually you'll start unconsciously doing it as well. Really simple point.
This is actually gold. I think this is one of
Yeah.
the my favorite lessons we have uncovered here so far.
Absolutely. Next one is just a daily focus.
The daily focus, what does that mean?
Simply choosing one area that you can actually control from this list of things that you've come up with that
Mm.
you can control. Spend the day focusing on that.
Mm.
Don't do anything else. Focus on this area that you can control. do the best you can with that area you can control. Really simple.
Yeah.
And this whole concept of focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't is so simple, but it's so powerful. And so much of people's anxiety and frustration is born from them simply sitting there with these pointless attempts to try and focus on things, control things they can't control.
Yeah.
Simple as that. Simple as that.
I think that's also a form of your unconscious mind giving you excuses not to do something, is pointing out in front of you what you can't control, or giving you something so big and ginormous that you can't control, and making you believe that
Mm.
it's the only way.
Exactly right. When I often talk with people who feel stuck,
Yeah.
who come to me saying, "Look, I just feel stuck. I put in all this effort and I just feel stuck." And okay, where are you now, and where do you want to get to? Okay,
Mm,
we get that down. But okay, and you seem pretty focused, so let's see why you're stuck. What is it you're focusing on to get where you want to be? What are you actually focusing on? I say, "Oh, well, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this." So, all the things you just mentioned, you have absolutely no control over. What did you
mm,
think was going to happen when you focus on that? There's all these other things over here that you do have control over.
mm.
Okay. And that's what you can focus on. Simply in the business sense, you can control how you put your messaging out there. You can control the budget you spend on putting your messaging out there. You can't control if someone doesn't pick up after you call them up.
That's it.
They give you their details. You can't control if they don't pick up.
Yeah.
You leave them a message and they decide not to call you back. There's no point getting upset about it. You can't control that. You
Yeah.
can control what you can control. That's your messaging
Hmm.
and what you spend on marketing your name out there.
That's it.
Okay?
That's it.
That's all you can control. And you can control what happens when they eventually call you back.
Love it. Love it.
All right. The next one is just as you choose the area that you can control in point three, create actionable steps. And you hear me saying this all the time: is break down the controllable aspects into actions that you can take.
Yeah.
Okay, no matter how small. Okay, just break it down into the simple actions you can take. Everything has some sort of a process to it.
Yeah.
Everything has some sort of a process. It's an interesting thing. When I point out that everything has some sort of a process to it, to people, I often say, "Well, okay, tell me about how you have a shower." Okay, like, "Oh, I get in the shower and put soap on." Well, hang on, no, didn't you have to go get a towel first to make sure you had a towel? You had to make sure the water wasn't going to burn you. You then got in the shower, you got wet first, you then put the soap on, you got the soap off, you got out, you toweled yourself off, you got dressed again, and you got on your way. There's a process.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
just I use that as an example all the time. Really simple one, but just points out there is a process to everything.
Yeah. It's very similar to that concept of in NLP. Um, One of the examples which I find the words is this is so weird. Okay. That's why I didn't like it, but it's effective nonetheless. And when people say I'm stressed, right? And the NLP answer to that one, and I'm putting inverted quotation marks here, is
Yeah, for
how
anyone who's just listening,
that's
Tom
it.
just did air commas,
That's
essentially.
it. Air comment. Yeah, that's it. And you ask this question, and I quote, "How do you do stress?" It's such a what? What do you mean by that? I've been
Exactly. You have to
interrupted.
do stress. You have to do anxiety.
Yeah, to do anxiety. Yes. How do you do stress? So that's what Jono is actually talking to, but in a more elegant way, rather than a weird way of saying, how do you do stress?
Yeah. But it's actually, I love that as well. I point out to people all the time, you've got to stress is something you have to do. Okay.
Mm,
All right. You have to do stress. You don't catch it. It's not forced upon you. You have to do it yourself.
yeah, yeah. So the next one is
So
end
the
of the day reflection.
simple end of the day reflection. Again, this comes down. This is sort of in the line with celebrating things as well. You hear me about celebrating things as well. Just reflect at the end of the day on how focusing on what you can control actually helped.
Yeah.
Compare it to previous days when you focused on the things you couldn't control.
Yes.
You see how it helped you.
Yeah, I just want to add on to that one, and this is I call it the rabbit hole of reflection, and that is brooding,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So when you're reflecting, you give yourself a time limit, and you need to focus on what you're reflecting on, right?
Yep.
You give yourself 5 minutes, and after that, that's it. Move on.
Yeah, because that's I really like that. I mean, it's okay to brood on things. It's okay to sit there and get pissed off about things as well.
Mm.
Okay, if something really bad happens, there's no point pretending it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Okay, if someone's treated you poorly throughout the day, okay, if someone's just walked in and acted like a complete jerk to you, if you're dealing with a friend, an acquaintance, a client, whoever,
Yep.
who's just isn't treating you right, um, be pissed off about it for 5 minutes. Okay,
Mm.
don't let it sit there and see. Just be pissed off about it if you have to, but put a limit on it. Then let it go.
Yes. And
Yeah,
that is self-reflection. Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Day 12. We're really going through this, aren't we, Jono?
we are.
Yeah. Day 12 of the mindset reset is empowering self-talk. The objective here is cultivate a positive self-talk to strengthen confidence and keep you on the path of your goals. The mindset, the mindset tip here is the words you choose shape your reality. This is such a big deal, guys. So I'll repeat that again. The words you choose shape your reality. Speak to yourself with kindness and encouragement and watch yourself grow stronger.
Exactly right. Now, with that, I just want to point something out as well, something that I read a while ago that I thought was a brilliant metaphor. And essentially, the idea of this positive self-talk, it's not woo-woo, it's not just be kind to yourself. It's about programming yourself unconsciously.
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at it this way, consider 10% of your mind. Obviously, there's only one mind, but consider 10% of it what we do consciously. Okay.
Mm.
The other 90% is all unconscious. All these operating systems within our body, all the maintenance, all the unconscious ways we respond to situations. Okay, we
Yes.
respond unconsciously way faster than we respond consciously. So it's important to program the unconscious with this positive self-talk. Okay, now when it comes to looking for a goal, going after a goal, and I love this metaphor. I read it a little while ago. I can't remember the name of the author, unfortunately. I'll give him credit another day. Um, but what he basically said was consider the conscious mind as a filing clerk.
Mm.
Okay. That decides, focus on this, put this in the drawer.
Yes.
Okay. Focus on this, put this in the drawer. Look at the unconscious mind as a bloodhound, like a
A
hunting dog.
bloodhound. Oh,
A
gotcha.
hunting dog. Okay.
Mm.
Now, this is what happens. If you consciously repeat focus on positive self-talk that's moving you towards your goals,
Yes.
that repetition programs your unconscious mind, that bloodhound, to seek out opportunities to make it happen. Okay.
Mm.
And you will start to notice things that perhaps you haven't been noticing until now because people spend so much time on the negative self-talk. I don't want this to happen. I want to avoid this. I'm worried if I do this, this will happen. And so
Yes.
their bloodhound, the unconscious mind, is constantly validating that for them,
Mm.
constantly validating it for them. So you've got to get your bloodhound, your hunting dog, on the same page with you. And you do that, you get him hunting out and sniffing out opportunities for you. by repetition. I got to
Yes.
start that again.
Okay.
You get the hunting dog focusing and going in the right direction and sniffing out opportunities for you by conscious repetition of this positive self-talk.
So use your bloodhound wisely.
Use your bloodhound wise. Be good to your dog, huh?
But I totally agree with you. Having said that, I totally agree with you. It's the same as people that are almost perpetually finding what's wrong. The same as people that are habituated in looking for something that they will be disappointed on.
Mm,
It's
yeah.
literally programming you, right?
Yeah. And it's exactly right. It is programming our unconscious. And it's five really simple steps here. Okay.
Yeah, correct. And
Now, number
self-talk
one
is
here.
sorry, I just want to highlight this again. Self-talk is huge, massive, massive, massive. In fact, I think we should create another video on the side for self-talk because it's such a big
Absolutely.
deal. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, absolutely. So, very simply, point one here, morning self-talk. Just
Mm.
start the day by saying out loud three empowering statements. Simple as that.
Can you give us an
Today I'm going to
example?
find this.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to be successful. Today I'm going to hit my target, whatever it happens to be.
Yeah.
Today I'm going to enjoy my day. Today I'm going to communicate well. Today
Yes.
I'm going to make sales, whatever it is. Okay. Whatever it is throughout your day. Today I'm going to interact well with people. Today I'm going to keep my peace. Today I'm going to make it to the gym, whatever it is. Okay. All of these things, all positive things that you want to achieve.
Nice. Some people actually, similarly anyway, but not exactly the same, is when they wake up, they pray.
Yeah.
And that is, yes, let's say there's a God, God can hear you, or your angels can hear you, or your Buddha can hear you, or you can hear you, right? One thing is for sure, you can hear you.
You can hear you. And this is the whole thing. It's the
Mm.
whole thing about people who pray. And this is again not getting religious on everyone here, but
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not a religious person, but people that do pray, they're actually doing exactly what we're talking about here.
yes,
They're doing exactly what they're talking about. They are consciously programming their unconscious to go after what they want.
correct.
It's exactly what's happening there.
They say, give us this day our boom.
Yeah,
And the other one is I forgive you and I forgive this, forgive me. Like all these positive, um, positive reinforcing beliefs actually is
yeah,
being drilled down as soon as you wake up, bang, right?
exactly right.
So that's
Exactly
very
right.
similar. Very similar also to affirmations, except affirmations are good, except I find them repetitive and boring after a while.
Yeah, well, affirmations can be but they're a part of what you do here. Okay. And
Yeah,
affirmations will come into this as we go as well. But
yeah,
I guess points two and three here
yeah,
are very, very closely related. So firstly, catch the negative self-talk.
yes,
Pay attention to the internal dialogue and catch every negative thought that arises. But then point number three here, when they do arise, flip the script.
yeah,
Okay. And that's very simple. It's like going from, say, I can't handle this to actually I'm capable and resourceful, or I
yeah.
can't do this to I'm learning how to do this well.
Mm. And
Simple
by
as
the way, guys, do not swear at yourself.
that.
Don't call yourself.
Unless you're playing golf.
Okay, well, we kind of rushed the day 12 about the empowering self-talk because that's a
We've
big
got to.
piece, and we can actually create a whole video on empowering self-talk. Hey.
Yeah, there was a couple small points there as well. Just a
Mhm.
positive affirmation practice was number four.
Yeah.
Again, creating personal affirmations, very simple thing. And point five was again, evening reflection.
Yes, correct.
Jot down how this positive self-talk is affecting me, and you'll be astounded the amount of positive things you'll start to write down.
Yeah, nice. I love it. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's day 12, which is empowering self-talk. That's day 12 of the mindset reset. And if you found this content useful, please feel free to subscribe and click the notification button so you will get the latest videos from the Mindset channel. Once again, this is Chrome from the Mindset channel.
And this is Jono from the Mindset Channel.
Until next time, have a good day. See you in the
Have a
next
great day,
video.
everyone. Take care. See you soon.
See you in the next video.